We have a special guest. Hey, by the way, we have a special guest on with us today. He's on the phone. It's everybody's favorite. Dylan Ratigan is here. Hi, Dylan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Loud and clear. You hunkered down. You locked in.
I'm locked in.
Your toilet paper.
You know what? I missed out on the toilet paper, but I'm not a big shitter. So
okay, you'll be okay. You're gonna be okay then.
I think.
Great start, gentlemen.
Hey,
Great start.
so Dylan,
we just got to set a level. It's a new world. We've entered a new world.
Yes, we have. Okay, now you fresh back from Italy. You're from the future right now.
I am from the future.
So now let me just bring people up to speed about what's happening in Italy right now, okay? Because so just sit tight,
Sure.
and it's gonna take me just 2 minutes. This is from The Atlantic. It said the extraordinary decisions facing Italian doctors. Today, Italy has 10,000 cases of coronavirus. There are now simply too many patients for each one of them to receive adequate care. Doctors and nurses are unable to tend to everybody. They lack machines and ventilators to ventilate all those who are gasping for air. Now, the Italian College of Anesthesia, Analgesia, Resuscitation, and Intensive Care has published guidelines for the criteria that doctors and nurses should follow as these already extraordinary circumstances worsen. The document begins by likening the moral choices that Italian doctors may face in the form of wartime triage that are required in the field of catastrophe medicine. So they're talking about practicing catastrophe medicine in Italy right now. Instead of providing intensive care to all patients who need it, it may become necessary to follow the most widely shared criteria regarding, ready for this, distributive justice and the appropriate allocation of limited health resources. The principle they settled upon is utilitarian. Informed by the principle of maximizing benefits for the largest number, they suggest that the allocation criteria need to guarantee that those patients with the highest chance of therapeutic success will retain access to intensive care. Let me repeat that. The new guidelines in Italy is that those patients with the highest chance of therapeutic success will retain access to intensive care. The authors, who are medical doctors, then deduce a set of concrete recommendations for how to manage these impossible choices, including this. Ready for this? Quote, it may become necessary to establish an age limit for access to intensive care. Those who are too old to have a high likelihood of recovery, or who have too low a number of life years left, even if they should survive, would be left to die. So let's say you're 85 years old and they think intensive care would fix you. They're going to still let you die. Okay. Those guidelines apply even to patients who require intensive care for reasons other than the coronavirus, because they too make demands on the same scarce medical resources. As the document clarifies, these criteria apply to all patients in intensive care, not just those infected by COVID-19. Now, let's go ahead and bring Dylan Ratigan back in, because he just came back from Italy, so he can give us the inside. Dylan, so can just first of all just react to what I just said. Dylan?
I mean, I think it's good. I think the better that that's understood, the sooner that's understood, and the calmer everybody can be about what that means, and then understand that there is an alternative that's immediately available to us, which is all the schools, all the universities that are closed down are easy to stand up temporary respiratory field hospitals, which is the next decision that should be being made in this country as of today. In anticipation of the certainty, because if you believe Governor Cuomo's assessment today in New York, and he's been extremely effective, I think, as a leader on this issue in this country, but both for a lot of reasons. One, he's familiar with the federal government and what it's capable of doing, and obviously he's been in the government in New York State, and I have many criticisms for him associated with financial policy and all these various things. But for this specific situation, I think that he's really stepped up in a way that is worth paying attention to. And I think that he made the most important point, which is everybody's talking about bending the curve, slowing the curve, bending the curve, and slowing the transmission rate. But his point is, even if you get your best case scenario of slowing the transmission rate, based on any of these ratios, you're still going to be a tsunami that's going to overwhelm the existing ICU beds, even with your best case scenario. So you must immediately get the Army Corps of Engineers standing up temporary field hospitals using the obvious, which is things like the entire closed down New York City school system, or all the university medical schools that are closed down. There's a lot of real estate right now that's very easy to expand to this capacity. And that's where the attention needs to be in order to mitigate the wave that's coming, for sure. But it's like a tsunami, then you have to act. You have time. You have days. You have 2, 3, 4 days. You have time right now it's better than a tsunami because you have a longer warning. You have more time to do things. And the reason why the markets are completely cratering is because the American political leadership is making it clear that they're not engaging these 48 hours as a tactical period before a tsunami, where you deploy resources, whether it's immediate UBI, immediate tax filing postponement, April 15th is off, and immediate deployment of resources to stand up field respiratory.
So is anybody...
That's what you need to be doing today.
Yeah, I mean,
this is not analytical. This is tactical and important. And I say that in all seriousness, at all my calm, and all jokes aside.
Right. So why do you think they're moving so slowly still in the United States to get this done?
Because this is such a profound reckoning on a parallel with September 11th or Katrina or the financial crisis, and quite candidly bigger than all of those things by 1,000 times. But because it's happening in slow motion over a period of days and weeks and months, as opposed to a singular event like a flood or a hurricane or a building getting knocked down, because of this, it takes longer for the realization to set in. And there's already a natural tendency in human beings, all human beings, when they're dealing with some sort of traumatic change, the initial thing is denial. This is not real. The second thing basically is anger, which is kind of where we are now. And then, I know there's more to the list, but it ends in acceptance. And the sooner we can get to acceptance, the sooner we can start building field hospitals. And the sooner we can actually diminish the catastrophic triage you described that's underway in Italy has to be deployed. The goal would be to minimize the degree to which that gets done. And the way to do that is by creating the largest field capacity for respiratory distress using the existing medical infrastructure allocated against the new physical resources that is obvious with the school systems nationwide.
So, but no, so you know this, I know this. Why the hell isn't Bernie Sanders screaming that this should happen, or Joe Biden or Barack Obama? Why is no one screaming that this stuff needs to be happening right now? Why is it just you and me on the internet right now?
And Andrew Cuomo said it today. Governor of New York said it today.
What did he say?
He said that he came out and he said, it's an amazing presentation, PowerPoint, the whole nine. He said, do you guys think you're doing some chart with doing curves, you're managing curves? And then he's pulled up a slide of a tsunami. He's like, this is what we're talking about right now. And then he's like, these are the state resources to respond to this. And these are the federal resources to respond to this. Of everything that's on the list of state resources that can be done to respond to this tsunami, we're doing all of them. On the list of things that can be done on the federal level to do anything about this, we're doing none of them. And I'm calling on the president and the federal government to do all of these things. He did it today. It was great.
All right. So
they should put him in charge of the virus. I mean, honestly, he's just sensational.
Okay. I mean, that won't happen, but
but still, you might as well support. He's doing a good job.
Yeah. Okay.
He's got a bigger platform than we have.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He knows how to do this thing.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. It's nice to see somebody stepping up. I didn't see, I'm on the West Coast.
That's some good news, I would say.
Yeah. So it's good to see someone stepping up, somebody actually.
In New York, because the two hot spots, right? It's California and New York, and then Seattle.
Yeah. Right. And
so the governor of New York is a good leader, has a valid standing to lead, and he's doing a good job.
Okay. So just go ahead and walk us through what did you see happening when you were in Italy And when did you?
I mean, you see the realization of the fact that literally all activity and all leaving of the house, other than going to the pharmacy or the grocery store, is possible in a Western society and is enforceable and is profound.
So a lot of people are saying that what they did in China or what they did, it won't work here. But you're saying it did work in a place like Italy and
Barcelona. Right now in Barcelona.
So you're saying this is...
these are chaotic outdoor places of the world. Some of the most chaotic, most social, most outdoor places in the history of the world. And everybody's hunkered down because everybody understands that there's value in doing it. So there's not... Socially, it's not rewarded to break this rule. And there's actual enforcement of $200 fines if you're outside without cause to either go to work, a group of 5 people or less, 1 meter away, or to go to the grocery store or the pharmacy, and everything else is closed. And if you're not doing one of those things, then you get a fine. And if you keep coming out, they put you in jail.
And so that's what's coming here.
Yeah.
So that'll be here. You think by when? Like by Friday or next Monday, or?
It all the thing to monitor is the number of occupied ICU beds. So because there's no valid testing in America, so it's impossible to have a handle. The only metric that's worth tracking in America, you look at the Johns Hopkins websites, is the number of occupied ICU beds. And right now we've been tracking with the increase in the number of ICU beds about 9 days behind Italy, but increasing at the same rate.
Yes, we're increasing at the same rate. So we're about 9 days behind Italy. So we're going to be...
maybe we're doing this lockdown now, right? Everybody's starting to lock down. You guys are locked down out there in LA. They're closing up Santa Clara. There's a bunch of lockdown happening back east with New York and all this. So maybe we can slow the curve, is Cuomo's point, but he's like, it doesn't matter. It's still at some point over the next 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to have so much more respiratory than you can handle on the ICU side.
And
that was Cuomo's point.
What do you think the chances are of us meeting the moment in the United States? What do you think the chances are of us getting enough ICU beds and ventilators to take care of the people who will need them?
I'm optimistic because I believe in the governors of these states. I think we've got good leadership in both the mayor's office in this country and in the governor's office in this country in terms of connection and pride and loyalty and brilliant people and resources. And I find that because the vacuum right now in federal resources is so apparent that it's foolish to get lost in why or what that is. That's for another day. For this moment, it's about mobilizing all the available state resources in California, in Washington, in New York, in Florida, in Texas, to address this immediately, to expand respiratory capacity starting today, and let the federal government catch up.
I mean, wouldn't it? So you're suggesting that the empty schools that be commandeered and turned into ICUs for people with coronavirus, and another benefit of that.
I'm saying it's an easy available resource. That's just one idea. I'm not saying that that's the plan.
Right.
I'm saying there's all this empty real estate, gymnasiums at these junior colleges, stadiums, all these public school systems that are easily supplied with beds and ventilators and curtains and whatnot, that have bathrooms, have kitchens, and be easily cordoned and controlled and sterilized and central. So that we have the ability not to have to go to Italian triage that you described horrifically at the beginning.
Right.
That doesn't have to happen.
That doesn't have to happen if we act now. And the benefit of of building these temporary hospitals or ICUs to deal with this problem and to take care of the coronavirus people, the benefit of that is that now you don't have to worry about infecting other people inside the hospital, right? So, and you don't have to...
So it creates a whole world.
Right.
Yeah, it creates a whole corona world where you have a protocol that you can manage. It's South Korean style.
Yes. And so
the South Koreans proved that they got this figured out. Like they win.
Yeah. So now they had. I think,
here's what you do.
So South Korea has actually more cases than China did, but they've. So can you?
They had the most explosive start of anybody. They had like this a huge hot spot that just went from 0 to 60 and nothing. Boom, like 0 to 500 or something.
Right.
And they just were immediately on. Everybody locked down. Nobody moved. And everybody get tested. and then we're just going to filter whoever's got this, and who did you talk to, and who did you talk to, and who did you talk to, and who did you talk to?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody moved. And they just froze the field. Nobody moved. Freeze the board. And then they just went back and reverse engineered that 500 spider hotspot, pulled everybody out for 2 days, and then got everybody tested.
So
no argument.
So of course,
but then we were racist. So we're like, yeah, well, those are Asians. They have less, they're more obedient. There's this whole racist view of Asia and sort of obedience. Singapore. But the reality is the exact same administrative standard has been applied in Italy and in Spain, in Barcelona, in Milan, in Rome, in Venice, in Cortina.
So I know it. Just I'm waiting.
Coming.
Yeah, it's coming. I wish they would just. There's people still. The election is still on tomorrow. That's irresponsible. Yes.
The market's trying to tell everybody what's happening. The market's going to continue to collapse until it gets real leadership. Sooner the better.
Hey everybody, the next live Jimmy Dore show is May 1st in Minneapolis, and then we're going to Chicago. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all the tickets to all our live shows, and become a premium member at jimmydorcomedy.com/join. We give you hours of bonus material every week. Thanks for your support.